I'm kind of biased because it's also from a close friend of mine, Sam. But I remember him asking essentially something along the lines of, how has time away from drums made you perhaps reconsider your passion? It was something like that. And obviously, this is in reference to the fact that during this COVID lockdown, I haven't been able to play drums. It's very much just been practice on the pads and pillows. And even that, I haven't done that much of. Again, as stated in previous episodes, I've spent a lot of time composing and some other things which I'll get into. But to get back to the question, how's it made me reconsider, I guess, my passion, what I consider to be a large sum of my life and even identity? Well, this honestly has been one of the most difficult periods of my life simply for that reason. Drumming and playing drums is just such a huge and integral part of, again, I guess, my identity and who I feel I am as a person, and maybe what my destiny even is. And so to sort of have that stripped away from me has been really difficult and forced a lot of reflection. And I think, in all honesty, I maybe didn't spend enough time reflecting on that because I was avoiding it and avoiding the pain of that. Obviously, I'm still always tapping on things, and I was reminded of how much I miss drumming, but I feel like it's really taken its toll in that I've not even really been watching many drum videos. I've, again, not even spent that much time really practicing on pillows and pads like I could be. I've only really done it when I want to post a clip from my Instagram or maybe go over a quick lesson or something like that. But other than that, I really haven't done much. And I think it sort of initially it led me astray in that I was then, pretty down about that. And although I was still putting in immense amounts of hours into my composing and songwriting and even the podcast and doing a lot of research regarding those things, especially the logistical side of them. Again, just I feel like some of that maybe was in fear of really coming to terms with the fact that I haven't been able to play drums, I think. And in all honesty, that led me to some bad habits and at times lack of productivity. And because I think I also did burn myself out, I mentioned, I believe in episode 2, how I was working myself to points of delirium at times, and that was something I knew I couldn't sustain, but I wanted to sort of ride out, because in that mind state it felt like a unique opportunity and experience in a messed up way to then create and compose more music under that circumstance, and as I previously described, that sort of filter. But thankfully I'm not working myself to that sort of extreme anymore, and I have a much stronger sense of control now, or not even sense, I just do have a lot more control over myself at the moment. And so I don't know that I have an answer really for that question, because, well, I guess I do. I mean, like, drums is still, I know it's my number one passion, and what I, for the most part, I feel, is living and breathing inside of me. And I've, at this point, I guess I'm biased in that I've just put in so many years and hours and time and passion and love into it. It's not something that I think would just kind of disappear, or that I would decide is not for me anymore. But I guess there's always a potential for that, which is kind of scary to think about, but only because it's what I've been so accustomed to. So in a way, it's something I could view as very much a test of that passion, maybe, and I guess how badly I really want it. But it definitely has been a bit of a mind fuck, so to say, because, what my dream is and entails is playing live performances and touring and playing music. And during this whole situation, that's something that's just not possible. So say if this situation were to persist, then that simply wouldn't be an option, for the most part. Obviously, there'd be some ways of getting around that, performing elsewhere in isolation, but for me, that's just not really been an option at the moment. Um, but I guess this helps me tie into what I really wanted to sort of get into, I guess, this episode. Um, and that was the fact that in 12 years of playing drums, I've never spent this long away from the drums. I believe it's maybe been 3 months or so now. As most of you can imagine and probably relate to, time is just a bit of a weird concept at this point. But it, yeah, I don't know. It sort of, I felt like, led me astray, and it really brought out a lot of emotions, and I don't want to say dark thoughts, but it was just a lot of heavy contemplation. And what also happened was the fact that then I still wasn't eating, or hadn't been eating a lot. And it's been astounding to me as of recent, because I feel like I really started to turn things around about a week ago. About a week ago, if you know, you know. I sorry, I really wasn't eating as much as I should have, and it's not to say I was starving myself, but again, not eating as much as I should have, and I found that a huge correlation was between lack of food intake or calories and my emotions and my emotional well-being, my mood. I found that I tended to feel perhaps a lot more negative, just in my outlook. I believe I don't think I really brought out too much of it necessarily. Maybe more when I was by myself, I felt more emotional. But the point being that I found and very much realized that I needed to have a healthier relationship with food. And it's because I think for a long time, and I'm at fault for ingraining this in myself, that I've viewed eating as more of a chore, which I know is not the case for a lot of people. They love eating and very much struggle to do the opposite and to eat less. For me, it's always been the other way around. Food tends to get in the way, or that's what I've always thought, and I've just wanted to continue to be engrossed in what I'm doing, and food just becomes this whole distraction, and you have to go buy the ingredients and prepare, and sometimes I would feel lethargic after eating, which probably had to do with the quality of the food, as well. But that's something I've very much worked on, and without making this completely unrelated to music and drumming, that was affecting my productivity, and I think also perhaps influencing a certain level of pessimism regarding the fact that I haven't been able to play drums. So sorry, that's how I wanted to tie it together. But it's funny because I started to really take control over that, and I did that through really trying out new recipes, trying to learn and expanding my knowledge and arsenal of meals, recipes. And it's really made me view it all in a new light, and it's something I do now feel a bit more passionate about. And I think the biggest thing for me has been the fact that I've seen the clear impact it's had on my mind state and productivity. And this is probably the most obvious thing to most people. But it goes to show how I think I've just been so lost in this spiral in recent weeks prior, of not being able to pursue and fulfill and do what I love most, but then trying to remain hyper productive at home with songwriting, and I have definitely made a lot of progress in that regard, but for me, drums is still my number one thing. And so to not be able to do that, and then also having a lack of food intake, it kind of created a lot of negative emotion. And that was something that I think, not to an extreme manner, but it reached a bit of a breaking point, and I just realized that this is something that can't go on, and I need to make a change, and I need to make that change so that I can set myself up better for what I believe that this will come to an end, this whole lockdown, and life for the most part will return to normal. And so I want to be a much better version of myself once I, return to regular life, as opposed to um, being in a more depressed state. I suppose I've always been very prone to depression, just mostly because I'm someone who thinks a lot and very deeply, and so I can get very tied up in thoughts. And again, that's very much what went on in recent weeks, questioning my passion and my purpose. And yeah, but it's